The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, they looked up at the night sky and dreamed of what lay beyond. They built rockets. They walked on their moon. They sent machines to distant planets. And finally, after centuries of trying, they built a ship that could travel between the stars. Captain Woojin stood on the bridge of the Earth Federation vessel Horizon. He was a tall man with tired eyes and steady hands. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They had traveled for 3 months through the empty darkness of space, and now they had finally arrived at their destination. "Sir," said his navigator, a young woman named Somi. "We are picking up signals, many signals, coming from all directions." Woojin nodded slowly. They had expected this. Earth's scientists had detected alien transmissions years ago. They knew they were not alone in the universe, but knowing something and seeing it were two very different things. The view screen flickered and changed. Where there had been empty space, there were now ships. Hundreds of ships. They were massive and beautiful and terrifying all at once. Their designs were strange and alien, with curves and angles that human minds struggled to understand. "We are being hailed," Somi said. Her voice was calm, but Woojin could see her hands shaking. "Put it through," he said. The screen changed again. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was too wide and filled with small, sharp teeth. When it spoke, the translation software turned its words into something humans could understand. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered space controlled by the Galactic Hegemony. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." Woojin took a deep breath. This was the moment that would decide the fate of his entire species. He thought of Earth. He thought of the billions of people waiting to hear what he would say. He thought of his daughter, only 7 years old, who had cried when he left. "I am Captain Woojin of the Earth Federation vessel Horizon," he said. "We come from a planet called Earth. We are explorers. We come in peace." There was a long silence. The alien's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "Earth," the alien said slowly. "We have no record of this world. You are a new species." "Yes," Woojin said. "This is our first journey beyond our own star system." Another silence. Then the alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "A young species. An infant species. Very well. Humans of Earth. I am Admiral Tarek of the Valori Empire. I serve the Galactic Hegemony. You will follow us to the Council Station. There, your fate will be decided." The transmission ended. Woojin looked at his crew. Their faces were pale with fear. "Follow them," he said quietly, "and pray." The journey to Council Station took 2 days. During that time, Woojin and his crew saw wonders they could barely comprehend. They passed space stations the size of moons. They saw ships that moved faster than light. They witnessed alien species of every shape and size going about their daily lives. When they finally arrived at Council Station, they were escorted to a massive chamber filled with representatives from 100 different species. Some were tall and thin, like walking trees. Others were short and round with too many arms. A few looked almost human. But their eyes gave them away. No human had ever had eyes that cold. A creature at the center of the chamber rose to speak. It was ancient. Its skin was like cracked leather, and its voice was like stones grinding together. "I am High Chancellor Morvax," it said. "I have led the Galactic Hegemony for 3,000 of your Earth years. In that time, I have seen many young species reach the stars. Most do not survive. The universe is dangerous, and the weak are quickly destroyed." Woojin stood before the council, feeling very small. "We do not wish to fight anyone," he said. "We only wish to learn and trade and live in peace." Morvax made a sound that might have been a sigh. "All young species say this. And yet, when they grow strong, they always turn to war. It is the nature of living things." "Not all living things," Woojin said. "Humans have learned from our mistakes. We have had wars, terrible wars, but we have also learned that peace is better. We choose peace." The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, laughter began to spread. It came from dozens of different species, each laughing in their own way. Some howled. Some clicked. Some made sounds like breaking glass. Admiral Tarek stepped forward. His four eyes studied Wu Jin with something like pity. "Human," he said. "I have scanned your ship. Your weapons are primitive. Your shields are weak. Your engines are slow. You have no telepaths, no natural armor, no biological weapons. Your bodies are soft and fragile. You live for less than 100 years. He paused and looked around the chamber. "This species is no threat to anyone. I recommend they be classified as Tier 7 and allowed to join the hegemony as a minor species." Morvax nodded slowly. "Very well. Humans of Earth, you are hereby granted membership in the Galactic Hegemony. You will be assigned territories on the Outer Rim. You will pay tribute to the Council. You will not develop weapons beyond your current level without permission. In exchange, you will be protected from destruction." Wu Jin wanted to argue. He wanted to tell them that humans were not weak. He wanted to show them the fire that burned in the human heart. But he looked at the hundreds of ships surrounding his own. He thought of Earth, defenseless and alone. "We accept," he said. And so humanity entered the galactic community, not as conquerors or equals, but as the lowest of the low. For 50 years, humans served as laborers and merchants and translators. They were mocked and ignored and sometimes even hurt. The galaxy saw them as harmless, pitiful, weak. Admiral Tarek wrote in his personal logs, "Humans are a compliant species. They lack the aggression of true warriors and the intellect of the elder races. They pose no threat to anyone. In 1,000 years, they will likely still be serving drinks on space stations." But Tarek was wrong. Because while humanity smiled and bowed and accepted their low place in the galaxy, they were also watching. They were learning. They were remembering every insult, every injury, every death. And deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, in shipyards that no alien had ever seen, something was waiting. Something that would one day make the entire galaxy tremble. Humanity had not shown the universe their true face. They had only shown them a mask. 50 years passed. Humanity spread across the outer rim of the galaxy, building colonies on worlds that nobody else wanted. They farmed on planets with harsh weather. They mined asteroids in dangerous regions of space. They did the work that other species considered beneath them. On a small world called New Busan, 300,000 humans had built a home. The planet was cold and rocky, with thin air and long winters. But the colonists had worked hard. They built cities and farms and schools. Children played in the streets. Families gathered for meals. It was not a rich world, but it was theirs. Governor Minji was a woman of 53 with gray hair and kind eyes. She had come to New Busan as a young engineer and had spent her whole life making the colony better. Every morning, she walked through the capital city and greeted the people she passed. She knew most of them by name. On the night everything changed, Minji was working late in her office. Her assistant, a young man named Do-hun, brought her a cup of tea. "You should go home, Governor," he said. "It is past midnight." Minji smiled tiredly. "Just a few more reports. The harvest numbers are very good this year. I want to send them to Earth in the morning." That was when the alarm started. The sound was deafening. Red lights flashed everywhere. Minji ran to the window and looked up at the sky. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Ships. Dozens of ships. They were descending through the atmosphere like falling stars. But these were not human ships. They were dark and sharp, covered in spikes and weapons. Minji recognized them from the reports she had read. The Kravik Dominion. The Kravik were one of the most feared species in the galaxy. They were tall and strong, with 4 arms and skin like armor. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They conquered and killed and moved on to the next world. "Get everyone to the shelters," Minji ordered. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Now, but there was no time. The Kravik ships opened fire before they even landed. Plasma rained down on the cities of New Busan. Buildings exploded. Streets melted into rivers of fire. The screams of the dying filled the air. Minji watched her world burn. She watched families running through the streets, trying to find safety. She watched children crying for parents they would never see again. She watched everything she had built turn to ash. The attack lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Kravik landed their troops and walked through the ruins. They killed anyone they found still alive. They did not care if they were soldiers or farmers, adults or children. To the Kravik, all humans were the same: weak, worthless, prey. When the sun rose, New Busan was silent. 300,000 people had lived there. Only a few thousand survived, hidden in deep bunkers beneath the mountains. Governor Minji was one of them. She had been dragged to safety by Do-hun, who had died protecting her from falling debris. For 3 days, the survivors waited in darkness. They had no food, little water. They did not know if anyone was coming to help them. Finally, a rescue ship from Earth arrived. The Kravik had already left, taking everything of value and leaving only corpses behind. Minji was taken back to Earth. She was brought before the Galactic Hegemony Council to report what had happened. She stood in the same chamber where Captain Wu Jin had stood 50 years ago. She looked at the same alien faces, but this time, she was not asking to join them. She was asking for justice. The Kravik Dominion attacked a peaceful human colony without warning, she said. Her voice was raw from crying. But she did not waver. They killed 300,000 innocent people. Men, women, children. We demand that the Council punish this crime. High Chancellor Morvax listened. His ancient face showed no emotion. The Kravik Dominion claims that your colony was built on territory they had previously claimed, he said. They say they were simply reclaiming what was theirs. That is a lie, Minji said. We had been there for 40 years. The hegemony approved our settlement. Perhaps, Morvax said. But the Kravik are a Tier 2 species. Powerful allies of the hegemony. Humans are Tier 7. The lowest rank. He paused. The Council has decided that this is a minor territorial dispute. No action will be taken. Minji stared at him. She could not believe what she was hearing. Minor? She whispered. 300,000 dead, and you call it minor? Such things happen, Morvax said. The weak die. The strong survive. This is the way of the universe. If humans wish to avoid such tragedies, perhaps they should not build colonies in dangerous areas. Minji wanted to scream. She wanted to leap across the chamber and tear Morvax apart with her bare hands. But she knew it would be pointless. She was one human woman in a room full of aliens who did not care if her entire species lived or died. So instead, she did something else. She looked directly at Morvax and spoke words that would echo through history. You think we are weak, she said. You think we cannot fight back. You are wrong. And one day, you will understand just how wrong you are. Then she turned and walked out of the chamber. When Minji returned to Earth, she went directly to a secret facility hidden beneath the mountains of Korea. There, she met with General Seok, the commander of Earth's Strategic Defense Force. He was an old soldier with a scarred face and eyes that had seen too much death. They refused to help us, Minji told him. Seok nodded slowly. He had expected this. For 50 years, we have played their game, he said. We have smiled and bowed and let them think we are nothing. But we are not nothing. Governor, we have been preparing. He led her to a window that looked out over an underground cavern. What Minji saw made her gasp. Ships, thousands of ships. They were sleek and deadly, built with technology that no alien had ever seen. They had been hidden here for decades, waiting for the day when humanity would need them. The galaxy thinks they know what humans are, Seok said quietly. They think we are soft, weak, harmless. He turned to look at Minji, and there was fire in his eyes. They have no idea what we are capable of, but they are about to find out. That night, the Earth Federation Council met in secret. They voted on a single question. Should humanity finally show the galaxy its true face? The vote was unanimous. War was coming, and the galaxy was not ready. The Kravik war commander was named Gorath. He was massive, even by Kravik standards. His forearms were covered in scars from 100 battles. His teeth were filed to sharp points. He had never lost a fight in his entire life. When he received orders to attack another human world, he laughed. The attack on New Busan had been so easy. The humans had not even fought back. They had run and screamed and died like animals. Gorath had enjoyed it. These creatures are pathetic, he told his officers. We will crush them and take their resources. The hegemony will reward us, and we will grow even stronger. The target was a border world called Incheon 4. It was larger than New Busan, with 2 million human colonists. It also had something the Kravik wanted badly: rare minerals used to build starship engines. Gorath assembled a fleet of 200 warships. It was more than enough to destroy any human defense. He did not expect the humans to fight at all. He expected them to surrender and beg for mercy. He was very, very wrong. Admiral Hana stood on the bridge of the Earth Federation battleship Righteous Fury. She was 45 years old, with short black hair and a calm face that never showed fear. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "How many ships are coming?" she asked. 200 Kravik warships, Admiral," her tactical officer replied. "They will arrive in 1 hour." Hana nodded. Behind her, the 7th Human Expeditionary Fleet waited in formation. 60 ships, less than a third of the enemy force. "Admiral," said Captain Junho, her second in command, "should we call for reinforcements? We are badly outnumbered." Hana smiled slightly. "We have enough." The minutes passed slowly. The crew of the Righteous Fury worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. There was no panic, no fear. They had trained for this their entire lives. When the Kravik fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found the human ships waiting for them. Gorath stared at the view screen in confusion. "They are not running?" he said. "Are they going to surrender?" His communications officer shook his head. "We are receiving a transmission. Commander, put it through." Admiral Hana's face appeared on the screen. She looked at Gorath with eyes as cold as space itself. "Kravik fleet," she said. "You attacked our colony at New Busan. You killed 300,000 innocent people. Men, women, children." Her voice was steady and hard. "You have drawn first blood. Now witness ours." Gorath laughed loudly. "Foolish human. Look at your tiny fleet. We outnumber you more than 3 to 1. You cannot possibly win." Hana's expression did not change. "You are correct that you outnumber us, but numbers are not everything." She paused. "You see, the ships we have used for the past 50 years were not our warships. They were cargo vessels, transport ships. We showed you our merchants and farmers. We never showed you our soldiers." She leaned forward slightly. "Today, you meet our soldiers." The transmission ended. Gorath opened his mouth to give the order to attack, but before he could speak, the human ships moved. They moved faster than anything Gorath had ever seen. One moment they were in formation. The next, they were everywhere. His sensors could barely track them. His targeting computers could not lock on, and then the humans opened fire. The first volley destroyed 30 Kravik ships in an instant. Weapons that Gorath had never seen before tore through shields that had stopped 1,000 attacks. Plasma lances cut through armor like paper. Missiles that moved faster than light struck without warning. "What is this?" Gorath screamed. "What are they shooting at us?" His officers had no answer. They were too busy dying. The battle lasted 14 minutes. In that time, 200 Kravik warships were reduced to floating debris. Not a single human ship was destroyed. Only 3 were damaged at all. Gorath's flagship was one of the last to fall. As his ship burned around him, he stared at the view screen in complete disbelief. This was impossible. Humans were weak. Humans were prey. Humans could not fight. The last thing he saw was the Righteous Fury turning its main weapon toward him. A beam of pure white light filled his vision. Then there was nothing. On the bridge of his own ship, Admiral Tarek of the Valori Empire received the battle data. He had been monitoring the situation from a safe distance, curious to see how the humans would die. Instead, he watched them win. He watched them win easily. His hands were shaking as he read the reports. The human ships had used technologies that the Valori had never seen. Their weapons were more powerful than anything in the hegemony arsenal. Their engines were faster, their shields were stronger, and according to his intelligence reports, the 7th Expeditionary Fleet was a border patrol unit. It was considered a small, unimportant force by human standards. If this was their border patrol, what was their main fleet like? Tarek thought about the 50 years that humans had spent as a Tier 7 species. 50 years of bowing and scraping and being treated like dirt. 50 years of silence. They had been hiding. They had been pretending. They had let the entire galaxy believe they were weak. And all the while they had been building something terrifying. They were not fighting us before. Tarek whispered to his aide. His voice was barely audible. They were studying us. They were learning our weaknesses. And now, he could not finish the sentence. His aide looked at him with fear in her eyes. What do we do, Admiral? Tarek did not answer. For the first time in his long career, he had no idea. On Earth, the news of the victory spread quickly. People gathered in the streets to celebrate. They cheered and cried and hugged each other. For 50 years, they had been told they were nothing. Now they knew the truth. General Siok watched the celebrations from his office window. He did not smile. He knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy will come for us now, he said to Governor Minji, who stood beside him. They will be afraid, and frightened creatures are dangerous. Minji nodded. What do? We show them what we really are, Sok said. Not just our weapons, but our will, our determination, our refusal to be conquered. He turned to face her. We show them that humanity is not just a species that can fight. We are a species that cannot be broken. The stars were watching. And for the first time, they were afraid of Earth. The galactic hegemony had not known fear for 10,000 years. They had conquered every threat. They had crushed every rebellion. They had built an empire that stretched across 100,000 stars. But now they were afraid. The news of the Battle of Incheon IV spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. 200 Kravik warships destroyed in 14 minutes. Not one human ship lost. The numbers did not make sense. The reports had to be wrong, but they were not wrong. High Chancellor Morvax called an emergency summit at Council Station. Every major species was ordered to send representatives. For the first time in centuries, the great powers of the galaxy came together not to celebrate their strength, but to discuss a threat, the humans. When the human delegation arrived, every eye in the chamber turned to watch them. Ambassador Yuna walked at the front, her head held high. She was a small woman with silver hair and a face that showed no fear. Behind her came General Siok, wearing the black uniform of Earth's military command. The chamber was silent as they took their places. 17 elder species watched them with expressions ranging from curiosity to hatred to terror. High Chancellor Morvax spoke first. His ancient voice echoed through the chamber. Humans, he said, you have committed a grave crime. You have hidden your true military strength from the hegemony. This is a violation of our most sacred laws. You have deceived us all. Ambassador Yuna stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear. With respect, Chancellor, we have deceived no one. We never lied about our capabilities. We simply were never asked about them. A murmur ran through the chamber. The Valori Admiral Tarek leaned forward. You expect us to believe that? He demanded. For 50 years, we classified you as Tier 7, the weakest of all species. You never corrected us. Why would we? Yuna replied. You judged us based on our appearance and our age. You saw our soft bodies and short lives and decided we were nothing. That was your assumption, not our deception. Morvax slammed his fist on the table. The sound was like thunder. Enough games. Show us the truth. Show us what you are really capable of. General Siok stepped forward. He carried a small data device in his hands. When he activated it, a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. Every species could see it clearly. Very well, Sok said. His voice was quiet but somehow filled the entire room. You want the truth? Here it is. The display showed the 7th Human Expeditionary Fleet. The force that had destroyed the Kravik Armada. This is what we used against the Kravik, Siok said. 60 ships. It is a border patrol unit, designed for minor engagements and defensive operations. We consider it a small force. He pressed a button. The display changed. This is Earth's planetary defense fleet. 300 capital ships. They protect our home world and our oldest colonies. Another button. Another change. This is the Colonial Defense Network. 1,000 ships spread across our territories, ready to respond to any threat. The chamber was completely silent now. The alien delegates stared at the display with wide eyes. Siok pressed the button again. "And this," he said slowly, "is the Strategic Reserve Command." The holographic display exploded with light. Ships appeared by the thousands. Massive battleships, swift destroyers, carriers that could hold hundreds of smaller craft, weapons platforms the size of small moons. 10,000 capital ships, Siok said. Autonomous war machines that do not need crews. Orbital weapons that can destroy continents from space. He paused. And weapons that we consider too dangerous for normal warfare. Weapons we have never used. Weapons we hope we will never need to use. He turned off the display. The chamber remained frozen in stunned silence. The ships that destroyed the Kravik fleet were our smallest, weakest combat vessels, Sok continued. They were never designed for major battles. They were designed to chase pirates and patrol borders. He looked around the room at the terrified faces. "You called us Tier 7. The weakest species. You were wrong. By your own classification system, we are Tier 1. We have been Tier 1 for decades. We simply chose not to tell you." The Kravik ambassador, a scarred warrior named Vexar, rose to his feet. His voice shook with fear and anger. "This is madness. If you have such power, why did you not use it? Why did you let us think you were weak?" Siok turned to face him. There was no anger in his eyes, only cold certainty. "Because we are not conquerors," he said. "We do not seek empire. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We only want to live in peace." "Then why build such weapons?" Morvax demanded. "Because we remember our history," Siok replied. "Humans have fought many wars. Terrible wars that killed millions of our own people. We know what we are capable of. We know the darkness that lives in our hearts." He paused. "We built these weapons not to threaten you, but to protect ourselves, and to make sure that no one would ever think of harming us again." Ambassador Yuna stepped forward once more. "We did not come here to threaten you," she said. "We came here to warn you. The Kravik attacked our people without cause. They murdered 300,000 innocent civilians. We have answered that attack. But we do not wish for more death. We do not wish for war." She looked directly at the Kravik ambassador. "Your dominion has a choice. You can continue this conflict, and you will be destroyed. Or you can surrender now and face justice for what you have done. There will be no other warning." Vexar stared at her. His forearms trembled. He looked around the chamber at the other species, hoping for support. But no one would meet his eyes. No one wanted to fight alongside the Kravik against these terrifying humans. Finally, he lowered his head. "The Kravik Dominion surrenders," he said. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "We will accept whatever punishment the Council decides." Ambassador Yuna nodded. "That is wise." 6 hours later, the surrender was official. The Kravik Dominion agreed to pay reparations to the families of New Busan's victims. Their military was reduced to a fraction of its former size. Their leaders were put on trial for war crimes, and humanity was reclassified as a Tier 1 species. The first in galactic history to rise from the bottom to the top. The universe had changed forever, and the galaxy was only beginning to understand what that meant. The months that followed the Kravik surrender changed everything. The galaxy had spent 10,000 years believing that power meant conquest, that strength meant domination, that the strong would always crush the weak. Humanity showed them another way. Fleet Admiral Wujin, the same captain who had first made contact with the hegemony half a century ago, stood before the council once more. His hair was white now, and his face was lined with age. But his eyes were still steady. His hands were still calm. "We have a proposal," he said to the assembled species. "We call it the Soul Accords." The chamber listened in silence as Wujin explained. The Soul Accords would create a new system of galactic governance. No species would be classified as inferior based on their appearance or age. All species would have equal voting rights in the council. Attacks on civilian populations would be punished by the combined forces of all member species. And most importantly, war itself would require justification. Any species that wished to attack another would first have to present their case to the council. Only if the council agreed that the attack was justified would it be permitted. "This is absurd," said High Chancellor Morvax. His voice was filled with contempt. You cannot change the nature of the universe. The strong have always ruled the weak. This is the way of things. Wujin shook his head slowly. The strong have always had a choice, he said. They could rule through fear, or they could lead through wisdom. You chose fear. We choose wisdom. And if we refuse your proposal? Morvax demanded. Admiral Hana stepped forward. She was still young compared to Wujin, but she had proven herself in battle. Every species in the chamber knew her name. Every species feared her. Then nothing changes, she said. You continue as you have always been. You continue to prey on the weak and kill the innocent. And we continue to watch. Her voice grew cold. But know this, every time a species attacks civilians without cause, we will remember. Every massacre, every genocide, every act of cruelty, we will remember. And one day, we will come for those responsible. The chamber was silent. We are dangerous, Hana continued. We know this. We have seen what our weapons can do. We have felt the temptation to use them. It would be so easy for us to conquer this galaxy, to crush everyone who ever hurt us, to make you all bow before humanity. She paused and looked around at the frightened faces, but we choose not to. We choose peace. We choose justice. We choose to be better than what the universe has made us. Her voice softened slightly. That is precisely why we are dangerous, because we know what we are capable of, and we choose not to become it. The debate lasted for 3 days. Many species opposed the Soul Accords. They did not want to give up their power. They did not want to treat weaker species as equals. They did not want to be held accountable for their actions. But in the end, fear won out. The memory of the Battle of Incheon 4 was too fresh. The thought of human warships appearing in their skies was too terrifying. One by one, the elder species voted in favor of the Accords. Even Morvax, in the end, supported them. He had ruled through fear for 3,000 years. He understood that a greater fear had arrived. The Soul Accords were signed on a human space station orbiting Earth. Representatives from every major species came to witness the historic moment. For the first time in galactic history, a document promised equal rights to all intelligent life. Governor Minji was there, representing the survivors of New Busan. She watched as the species that had dismissed her people signed their names to the Accords. There were tears in her eyes, but she did not look away. Is it really over? Asked Dohun's mother, who stood beside her. She had lost her son in the attack, and she had never fully recovered. No, Minji said softly. It is only beginning. But for the first time, we have a chance. A real chance. In the years that followed, the galaxy slowly changed. Species that had been treated as inferior began to rise. Conflicts that would have become genocides were stopped by council intervention. The idea of attacking civilians became not just illegal, but shameful. Not everyone was happy. Some elder species resented the new order. Some plotted in secret to overthrow human influence. Some whispered that humanity was just another empire wearing a mask of kindness, but the mask never slipped. Humanity kept its promises. They did not conquer. They did not enslave. They protected the weak and punished the cruel. They built schools and hospitals on worlds that had never known either. They shared their technology with species that had nothing. And slowly, very slowly, the galaxy began to trust them. 20 years after the Soul Accords, an elderly human diplomat named Tae sat in a garden on a peaceful world far from Earth. Flowers of 100 colors bloomed around him. The air smelled of honey and rain. A young alien scholar sat across from him. She was a Valori, the same species as Admiral Tarek. She had come to interview Tae for her dissertation on human history. I have one final question, she said. Your people hid their strength for 50 years. You let the galaxy mock you and hurt you. You could have revealed your power at any time. Why did you wait so long? Tae smiled. It was a kind smile, warm and wise, because the truly strong do not need to prove it. He said, showing off strength is what the weak do. They need to convince others that they are powerful. They need to threaten and intimidate. But truly strong creatures do not need to do this. They know what they are. They are comfortable with what they are. He looked up at the sky, where a human ship was passing overhead. We only revealed our strength when the innocent needed protection. That is the only good reason to show power. Not for glory, not for conquest, not for pride, only for protection. The scholar wrote his words down carefully. She would include them in her dissertation, which would become one of the most famous academic works in galactic history. She titled it, Humanity, the Gentle Giants of the Galaxy. And across 100,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size read those words and understood. Strength was not about how hard you could hit. It was about knowing when not to hit at all. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. True power is not the ability to destroy. True power is the wisdom to choose peace.